Hello everyone! Welcome to today's video. Today I am continuing the process of completing crochet patterns from the kit of safari animals that I have before I go on my trip to Kenya. So today I'm going to use the yarn provided in the kit to make the other animal that they said they provide the yarn for, which is the warthog. I personally don't really have feelings about warthogs either way. They're kind of like, oh yeah, they're just there. But now that I'm going to be making this, I'm actually going to be excited to be seeing a warthog. And they are like little odd cute in their own way. Like ugly cute, yeah, animals. Let's get started with this, shall we? Warthog, and I'm very glad to be done with the warthog. Very glad to be done with the warthog, because while the pattern itself was very understandable, I had no problems with the pattern whatsoever. The materials I was using were not pleasant to work with. It was the definition of cheap. I did have enough materials provided I worked with them correctly, which I'm going to get to that in a moment. So I have over half the stuffing left, which honestly is not really a consolation for me because this is some of the roughest stuffing I have ever worked with. And I did have enough of the brown yarn to have a little bit left over for a little scrap project of some sort. But the yarn was splitting on me. The yarn was terrible. And there were times where I was like trying to pull it through and then the yarn just split and like came across. Honestly, if I were to just get this book without having any of the pattern materials, I think I would have the same amount of satisfaction. Because while the materials are handy for someone who's never done this thing before, this yarn is not going to make anyone fall in love with crocheting. You may also notice that my Warthog has 2 different eye sizes. I forget if I mentioned this in the line video or not. There were 2 sets of safety eyes provided, but what I didn't realize when I put them into the line was that there were 2 pairs of 2 different sizes, slightly different sizes. And so with the lion, there were like 2 different size eyes, which means the Warthog was going to have 2 different size anyway. But what happened with the Warthog was when I started stuffing it, the eye fell out. That was enough to stop me from continuing the Warthog for 3 weeks. That and other situations. So I ended up finding another safety eye that is the same color but is bigger. So the Warthog's a little bit wonky, but that's okay. It gives some character. I did try another set of safety eyes that were the same size as this. Meant he would have had like a different color eye, and that could have been cool. I mean, there's lots of people who have like the dichromatic eyes, but I forgot that it was the size that caused it to fall out in the first place. So that eye fell out too, which I fortunately realized before I wasted that safety eye as well. The other thing you probably noticed while filming is how the camera angle suddenly changed. This next thing that I'm mentioning, if you're watching this like 10 years in the future, it's probably not going to matter that much. But for the people who are watching me as I upload these, you may have noticed that I took a break for about a month. That was unintentional, so I have been progressively struggling to edit my videos because the editing software that I was using was actively working against me. In that I would attempt to edit the videos and then it would freeze on me, or it would cause like a delay with the sounds and the app would continually crash. I'm not sure about you, but if I'm trying to work with an app that is continually crashing, I don't want to work with that app anymore. The last straw came when I was about to edit part 2 of the stash that I inherited from another yarn user. I don't know that video will be out before or after this one's out, but I'm just going to mention it anyway. And I got about an hour's worth of footage down to a half hour, and then the app corrupted the file. And I realized that I simply could not work with that app. So I knew of another app that I wanted to use for video editing, only to find that my iPad could not download that app. And it's like, well, I guess it's time for a new iPad. So yeah, the whole video editing jump is the footage filmed on the first iPad versus the footage filmed on the iPad that I am using now. Also, you may have noticed that I'm having trouble with centering. I'm working on it, but I finally got one of these things, which means I'm learning how to use that too. So all this to say is that if this video is not up to par to what you're expecting, that's why I'm learning things, and I'm not necessarily going to hide until it's perfect, because if I took that mentality, nothing would ever get released. So thank you for bearing with me here. I hope in upcoming videos it will be more smooth, I guess, and I will get more used to it over time. This is a process that is very much something that is experience driven anyway. But yeah, it seems kind of apropos that it happened with the Warthog, because Warthogs don't particularly strike me as a polished animal. But I'm very thankful that the next animal that I'm going to do is going to use yarn that is not part of the kit, and I get to choose the yarn, which means it's going to feel a little bit better and work a little bit better for me. But yeah, got another animal all done. Anyway, that was today's entertainment. Have a nice day.